talking specifically about the Valencia match, who or what stood out to you, Buga?
What stood out to me, the lack of quality in this team. That's one thing. When I looked at the lineup, I wasn't really impressed. I know I went into SOS mode, already contacting Pablo, my insider. Why is Gundogan not in the squad list? And then when we heard different reports and stuff like that, that got me a little bit unnerved. So I think we're going to talk about that later. But what surprised me, I think Casado, I think it's just actually like the perfect player for this position. I feel like already with the first team squad number, the way that he plays with Bernal next to him, they both look like they've played for Barcelona for quite a long time. And I was actually watching, I think it was Fabregas talking to Rio Ferdinand. And he said that one
name
thing
drops,
really
friends of the pod, no big deal.
Yeah. that really caught my eye, and it's that Fabregas was saying that probably Barcelona youth prospects, like once they go out of Barcelona and they move somewhere else, like you normally you never see them again. Like Carles Aleñá, he went to Getafe, and Ricky Puig there in LA Galaxy. Like they never end up like really succeeding, but when they do, they become world-class players. And I think it's the way that it's implemented in La Masia, exactly like their philosophy, everything. I feel that it's just perfect for Barcelona, right? And that's what I mean. I think actually was this the sort of answer all along, just trusting more in the youngsters. It was always there, So that is one thing. And the last point before we hear what you guys has to say is that one twisted take, and I remember now. What was it? Because I said I forgot it. Is it me or for me? I'm gonna say this twisted take. I'm gonna get hate in the comments. I love you guys. I really do. I don't like Cubarsí with a number 2 shirt. Doesn't fit.
Oh no. Yeah, no.
Doesn't fit.
I'm glad you said that. It feels so awkward to me. I don't like it at all.
I don't
feel
like
it.
I
feel like it downgrades. It downgrades his aura.
Yeah,
is what it does.
No banco. No, nothing like at all. Like it looks so weird. It looks bad. I honestly do not like it. That was my twisted take. I saw Pablo laughing there. What do you think?
Oh, I thought it was going to be like a footballing opinion, but like I actually agree. I don't think it'll be that twisted. I think most people will say like it's a bit weird to have a number 2 as a centre back. I've always said that though, and he's a number 3 Cubarsí, really. He's not. But I
mean, Saliba with the number 2 at Arsenal, that's aura. Like that works for me. That works.
That's
number 2.
That's because you're a hipster.
Yeah. What do you mean? I'm a hipster.
Because he's an Arsenal player.
Oh, look at me, Pablo. I'm so normie. I eat bread with ham and cheese every day. And chocolate milk.
Oh my gosh. We're doing it. We're doing it.
I don't eat any of that anymore,
No? What is it these days?
What is these days?
I've stopped eating ham and cheese sandwiches at lunch, and I haven't had chocolate milk since I've moved to Spain, mate.
The fact that Pablo has to defend himself against chocolate milk attacks on his podcast. This is why we show up. This is why we come here every week. Yeah. I love it. Speaking of, before we get back into things, show us some love. Make sure you're subscribed. Give us your thoughts down in the comments as we go through our reaction to Valencia and we do some predictions here. Most importantly, let us know your thoughts, your opinions.
Can I show you something?
Where do we disagree? Where do we agree? We want to hear from you. Make sure you're subscribed, folks.
Can I show you something? I have...
No, I'm not falling for that again.
No.
What is it this time?
I don't know if you can see because it's flipped around. But
That's nothing.
I have like notifications of Ferran Torres whenever he posts on social media. So I get like, Ferran has just posted and you post on Instagram. He has added things to his story. He's the only one I ever had that. Like, if I will have a girlfriend, and I swear to God, Ferran Torres will be up there in notifications.
I was just gonna say, like, are you guys going steady now? Because that's adorable.
Me and Ferran?
Yes.
Sometimes, but he didn't score a goal. I asked him to do a celebration for me, and unfortunately, it's not there. He's gonna have to do the Anthony and just raise his shirt like when the teams are forming up and lining up before the game.
Is it gonna say Baby Booga?
Yeah. Did you see that, Anthony? Did you see that Anthony did that because he was never gonna score? Like, like that guy just shit, bro.
Wow. Okay. I'm gonna rein us back in. I'm gonna rein us back in a little bit.
Please do.
Buga, you talked about, or was it Pablo? I forget now because that was a tangent. One of you mentioned Casado.
Oh.
There's a lot of hype for Casado and
hipster.
Bruno, but I think Casado in particular is getting a lot of the attention right now. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that is Frankie de Jong's spot when he's healthy. I have not been as impressed with Casado, I think, as everybody else. I love his effort. I love his determination. His positioning is great, but his passing for me, there's too many times when the pass was off. It didn't connect.
If I could raise my eyebrows more, I would raise them more.
I wish you would. I wish you raised them right off your sweet little head. Because like I said, I love the effort, love the commitment, love the understanding of the game. I love all that. There's something missing in the execution for me. And I think all the hate around Frankie de Jong, all the speculation around should he not be a Barcelona squad member, that's Frankie's spot for me once he's fit.
Yeah, I mean,
I hear that.
I think that, but when you're being honest, like when I look at who two players could play in the double pivot position, I actually think the if Gundogan is to leave, that we're gonna talk about that, I think it would be Frankie and Casado. Like that's the two players I would put in. Because I do think Casado is a little bit more suited there and a little bit more defensive than all of our other players. And the other one I could only see being tested there. I mean, Gundogan, of course, and Gavi. I think Gavi is the one that simply because of passion and that, he's like a little N'Golo Kante.
Yeah. Pablo, what were you to say?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think it's what we spoke about last podcast, that it feels like there's a role for Frankie to grasp in this team when maybe there wasn't in the past. I think he must be itching to get back from injury because there is a gaping wound in that team right to gobble up, because we've got a lot of players who maybe would be better in the number 10 position, but not in the double pivot. Him next to Casado could be key. It really could. Interesting. I thought it was going to be a double pivot. If you actually saw the game against Valencia, it was actually more Bernal in the single pivot, Casado to the left, Rafinha to the right. I thought that was interesting. So it was actually more of a 4-3-3, really. Adapted a little bit in the second half. I think Casado went a little further back and more to the right-hand side of the second half, so that did change a little bit. Yep. And I think it worked better for us as well. I think Casado was great, though. He was the one that stood out to me. He was my MVP of the game because I think he controlled things really well. I think you could probably notice that there were two Barca youngsters in the midfield. I will say that at times in the game. I don't think we controlled it as much as we would have in a typical game against Valencia, especially in the first half. But I think he was really tenacious. I think without the ball, he recovered possession a lot, made some really niggly little blocks, kept on nicking the ball back for us. I think he progressed the ball well. He was tidy in possession. Positioning was sharp. Great engine on him, was running right to the 90th minute. Looks like a really good player to have in this squad. If you're thinking about sort of releasing that utility sort of player, if you like, in Sergio Roberto, for me, this is an upgrade for me and Casado. And he looks like a good player in that midfield for Barca. A profile we need too. So I'm really hopeful for him.
Were either of you surprised to see how far up the pitch he was getting?
Yeah. I was quite surprised. If I'm not wrong, he has also played right back before in the youth system. So that could be a bit why. But look, I think Casado is a good player. I think we're gonna see plenty of him, maybe even the next game. Particularly if we get rid of, once again, I say Gundogan. We're gonna talk about that later. I said that like 4 times already. Yeah. Spoiler alert. We better talk about it. Imagine we don't. I think that the thing that worries me a bit is that is it just that he's the only player we have? Are we like going really let's go all in on Casado because we haven't signed a pivot? Like today I read that Deco apparently like reactivated the negotiations or the search for a pivot because man, we need one. Like we are lacking, and even just with Casado and Frankie, which are the only 2 players I see that can fit there, that are naturally to play that position. I think Barcelona, I'm looking at this team and I'm very worried. Like I'm very worried that the quality of the names, and not the names particularly, but the way it has been constructed, that is for me the most worrying thing. You look at positions where we have one player and that's it. Like, look, Hector Ford is really good, but we only have Kounde there. Like, Kounde is out, and Hector Ford has to start a Champions League semifinal. You know, it's like those are the sorts of things that we're looking at, and I'm a bit worried about that because, dude, I don't know. I'm not sure if it's gonna pay off.
No, I agree, Bulgar. Sorry, I think one of the big things we have to talk about coming off this game is exactly that. Obviously, we can have a few impressions on players, like how we thought Lamine played or Casado, etc., etc. Let's just look at this Barca squad though, and where we are under Hansi Flick. Like, how are we feeling? Because obviously that first lineup isn't the Gala 11. Obviously, there are a lot of players missing. I mean, if we played that team for a season, we'd probably be in a top 4 fight, of course. But yeah, even apart from that, I completely agree, Bulgar. You're looking at this squad and 4 years into the La Porta project, and you are looking at it thinking, what are we going to do this season? Looking at compared to Real Madrid as well, how strong they've got, of course, in the fight for La Liga, just as a minimum.
Not even Real Madrid. To take a look at Atletico.
Yeah. And that's the thing that I think a lot of people will be typing in the comments and stuff and talking about after this game. It was a good first win. I think we improved in the second half. But looking at this squad right now and where Barca are out under Hansi Flick, I think is an interesting analysis in terms of how good are we really right now.
And Johnny's just opened his mouth first, and so you go.
I was just gonna say we need to be patient with the players coming back from some summer tournaments, new manager, new tactics, still not having a healthy squad. The difference that having Araujo and Frankie alone, just having those two is going to be incredible. Think about how many times Araujo is going to win a ball back up the pitch that Inigo Martinez is not going to get to. Think about how many times Araujo could push forward with the ball at his feet that you're not going to get with an Inigo Martinez. I've already talked about Frankie. So I think this is where it is a team sport. One player can't win it for you, but the impact that one or two players can have, particularly in the middle of the pitch, when you talk about a center back and a center midfielder returning, for me, and Pedri coming back and being healthy. I think in these cases, possession for Barcelona is key, and it really does make a difference having those players back. So
what I need to know, I desperately want to find an answer to. Okay, are you telling me that you signed Dani Olmo first because you knew that Nico Williams was not going to come, or what is the planning on there? Because then you're saying it's the contract that you cannot register him because there's not enough wage bill. So what's up with that? It's where's this is my target. I'm going to go for this target. We don't get the target. I'm going to go for the next one. Those things like that, it doesn't really happen at Barcelona. And I was saying, the planning, the construction of this team. Did you know that Mazraoui went to Manchester United for 15 million euros? 15.
Yeah.
Dude, you could. That guy, Mazraoui alone, could be a good backup for both fullback positions. That's pretty good. So I would take that. So where are the people making these negotiations or finding those deals? That I'm a bit worried about it, particularly like I said, because Valde yesterday we had a very good example. Valde gets injured, we get Gerard Martinez in. Gerard Martinez is right, correct. Gerard Martinez in. Martin. Yep. Good. Okay, I trust you. I'm not gonna say you're a bad player. I don't know. We have to see a lot of you, of course. But it's we are Barcelona Football Club, and it's I have never in my lifetime seen this many positions where the gap is that big. Look at the time where Ter Stegen got injured and we had Iñaki Peña. Fair play, Iñaki Peña, you had some good games, but the drop-off is just really big.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at Dimitrevski going to Valencia for bare peace. I see Jasper Cillesen, he's the new goalkeeper of Las Palmas. So the quality of the players that can be out there, just that you can get through the door, it's surprising. It's just a bit. It's a bit surprising how little we actually do our research.
Yeah. Well, I wonder how much of it is not the transfer fees, but the player salaries.
Probably.
Because still Barcelona's just getting their head above water. So I wonder if that plays a factor in it. Because Nico, from the reports, was going to be asking for a pretty big sum of money to be paid annually. So that could have been the difference maker there. Maybe Dani Olmo is playing for a significantly lesser wage. And it is a weird signing for me. I know we already talked about this a little bit, but Dani Olmo is a strange signing for me to go from targeting a winger to then going for more of an attacking midfielder. When if you look at our midfield, to the points you guys already made, a defensive mid is probably what we need. Switching to a 4-3-3 that we typically see with Barcelona with one pivot, and now Hansi Flick's double pivot, it makes it even more of a need. I would much rather have gone for a Zubamendi or somebody of that, like
Amadou Onana would for the same money.
Onana, who scored yesterday.
Yeah.
Right. So that, like, as soon as he got that header, I was like, man, I would have loved to see that for the Blaugrana. But I gotta suspect that it comes down to player wages and the wiggle room that Barcelona has right now. But I agree. We don't have the depth that you would like to see. Right.
Okay, probably Pablo, I don't know if you know, but I'm gonna ask you anyways, because I feel you're like Mr. Barcelona at this point. If I ask you, like, do you know what is the actual way that it works? Because, like, why did we spend 60 million on Dani Olmo? Cannot that money be used to, like, pay wages or something like that? Like, that's something I do not understand. Do any of you have, like, any understanding of why La Liga does things like that?
Oh, like how the money that you have gets allocated?
Yeah, like, look, we have 60 million. You're going to pay 60 million. Okay, Leipzig, let's say, is going to be 30 million. Are you telling me those 30 million cannot go to pay Nico Williams for, like, maybe a year? You know, it's
salary.
Like things like that. Or it's like two different pozos. In Spanish, you call it pozos, where you have, like, all this money is only dedicated and can be used in this area, and all of this money can only be used in this area. So is it something like that? Because it
separate pots. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think you generate money freed up. That's why we always hear, like, for example, now Araujo's not playing, so they used his salary space to register Inigo Martinez, for example, and no need to on the salary space to register Dani Olmo. In terms of transfer fee, I think we've probably been blinded by FIFA, me included, where I don't think you have, like, this set transfer budget of, like, 80 million. Now that you've used 60, you've got Dani Olmo. And then for a club like Barcelona, they can spend an X amount % of whatever, like, revenue they have as a club, which is obviously very big for a club like Barcelona. The issue is that in La Liga, you have to abide by this 1-to-1 rule, which Barcelona haven't been at and still aren't at. So I think if we're talking about if Barcelona had this 1-to-1 rule, I think technically the possibility is endless in terms of what we could spend, because we've got a club with a lot of money, and that's why you see all these clubs in England, they can just bash out millions and millions every window. I think it's the fact that we're not at this 1-to-1 rule and don't have salary space to actually bring these guys in. But I think in terms of transfer budget, hence the fact that we've been able to just splash 60 million on Dani Olmo out of nowhere. I don't think it's not the fact that, like, we've had to sell. We've reached 60 million and now we can spend it. Do you know what I mean? It's not like FIFA.
It's the players. It's like Frankie or someone who has big wages. Like, they need to cover up because, like, I think.
Oh,
yeah,
here we go.
I understand.
People are gonna load in the comments now.
I don't want
one of the top comments is Frankie's salary. Oh, we need to sell Frankie right now. He's only got 2 years left on his contract, and he doesn't do anything. We need to sell Frankie
Lewandowski.
right now. It's happening right now. I see you. I see you typing.
So Lewandowski, like, dude, I love Lewandowski. Like, if I actually walk through the street and bash into him, I'll be like, Roberto. But do tell him, you know, like, like, don't sell Frankie.
I said sell Lewandowski early.
In his third season. The other day I was thinking about it. His third year.
His value will never be higher than it was at the end of last season.
Every season he goes lower. Exactly.
Every season it goes lower, baby. And we're not going to win the Champions League with or without him. Might as well get some cash.
Yeah, he's never going to win the Ballon d'Or here. So,
did you notice that he played differently at Mestalla under Flick? Remember under Xavi, he would always come deep and he'd try and get on the, even if it was for stupid little touches. He barely touched the ball, but he scored 2 goals and 1 Barca of the game.
Yeah, I made a note that he was uninvolved but impactful.
For me,
that's the sort of player I want from him. Like that's exactly what I want Lewandowski to do. Like I don't want to believe that Lewandowski thinks he's Harry Kane or someone like that. There are some players who can do that, but it's like you don't need to be that. You have already been the best freaking poacher like almost in the decade. So just be that, and I think that's a way to go. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I'm with you on that. I think with the players that he has around him now, he should be able to just wait for service in the box, and that's where you'll get the most out of Lewandowski. All right. Anything else from this Valencia match that we haven't talked about?
No. In summary, it was a weird first game because a lot of players are missing. Let's wait and see for the team to come back. But I think there are obvious concerns season regarding the squad as a whole and where Barca are at. But look, I think there were some things to like from Flick's Barca, and especially the way we controlled the second half. And it was a difficult place to go. We'll take the 3 points, but there's a lot more to come, and there's a lot more players to come up before we see how this team is really going to compete this season. But I think these sorts of questions will come up for a few weeks in a row now.
Yeah, I agree.